All right, so the title of this is the cell membrane. And we wrote down just a little bit of this yesterday. What did we write down about the cell membrane?
A selectively permeable barrier.
A selectively permeable barrier.
Around all cells.
Yes. I'm going to have you underline all.
Oh my god.
Okay? Rarely do I use the word all in biology because there are so many freaky exceptions out there. There really are. Like, all plants are autotrophs. What about the Venus flytrap? What about, shut up. Sorry. There's a lot of weird things out there. There really is. All mammals are, give birth to live young. What about the duck-billed platypus? Be quiet. There's weird things. But this one is true. One of the few alls you'll ever see. Could I say that about the cell wall? No. What kind of cells don't have a cell wall? Animal cells don't. But this one, membrane, they all have. Selectively permeable. Let's focus on that for a second. Selectively permeable means cells choose what goes in and out. Well, that's tricky. How could a cell choose? Well, we have to look at the barrier first to understand why. So let's look at the parts. Parts of the cell membrane. Okay. First part that's super duper important, makes up most of the cell membrane, is this crazy looking jellyfish here. Okay?
What goes cells choose what goes in.
Yes. Cells choose what goes in and out. Okay. This crazy looking jellyfish is called a phospholipid. What part of that do you recognize? Lipid. What do you remember about lipids?
Fats.
They're fats, yes. Are they polar or nonpolar? These are nonpolar. Now here's the weird part. You ready? The phospho is polar. Uh-oh. We got an issue. This molecule is confused, okay? And I'll probably put a molecule here. It is a molecule. It's confused. Is it polar or nonpolar? It's both. What? Yep. One end, okay? This is the phospho up here. It's that part. Then the lipid parts are the two little tails down here, and they repel water. So the heads here attract water, the tails repel water. Now, here's the tricky part about being a phospholipid. All right, the inside of your body, or the inside of the cells of your body, what's the liquid in there called? What's the liquid in your cells called? Cytoplasm. Okay? Cytoplasm is mostly water, so the tails can't point that way. Outside of your cells is interstitial fluid. It's mostly water. So this thing's like, where do I turn exactly? Because everybody hates my tails. Everyone. Inside, outside, everyone hates the tails. So they get together. They're like, I got an idea. What if we did this? What if we were like, two layers going back to back? Yeah. Phospholipid bilayer. Got the two layers going back to back. Phospholipid bilayer. Two layers going back to back. Yeah. Phospholipid bilayer. Got the two layers going back to back. Phospholipid bilayer. So this is what they do. They go back to back like this. How do they go? Yeah, they do. How many layers? Two layers going back to back. Yeah. Yes. Okay. This is called the phospholipid because that's the molecule in there. Called a bilayer because it forms a double layer. Now it's a win-win situation because their heads are polar anyway. Okay, so their heads will mix with the cytoplasm on the inside and with the interstitial fluid on the outside. Everyone wins. And the tails come in contact with one another like that. They line up. It's perfect. It's perfect. In fact, these guys are being cranked out Remember how we were talking about trying to figure out, okay, what does the smooth endoplasmic reticulum do? It's, for the most part, cranking out these things. It's making these for a living. So we got those being made. All right. Now, this means that polar molecules cannot pass through. Okay, so let me make a few rules here. Because of the phospholipid bilayer,
What can't pass through?
polar molecules can't pass through. The only molecules that can, I probably should say are particles, because some things aren't molecules, particles that can pass through without being regulated, without being, gated in or out, must be, okay, here are the two requirements. Number one, if it wants to pass through the phospholipids, it must be small. Really, really small. Okay? The other thing is it has to be non-polar. Now, question.
How do you spell the lipid word?
Phospholipid?
Yeah.
P-H-O-S. Whoa, I'm making dots. P-H-O-L-I-P-I-D. Yes, Tanner.
What's that say after the only?
The only molecules, and I put particles because some of these are not molecules that are going to pass through.
So you want us to put polar and particle?
They must be small and they must be non-polar. Okay? Two good examples. Okay? Examples include, what do we need? Take a deep breath. We need O2. That can pass straight through. What do we got to get rid of?
Carbon.
Carbon dioxide. That can also pass through. Those things are small molecules and they're non-polar. They can cruise straight through here. So CO2 is like, I'm out of here, dude. Okay, O2 is like, hey, I'm coming in. Okay, no sweat. They can go right through. Very few other things have the ability to pass through like that. They've actually got to go through a different way. All right. So, because of that, let's see here. Let's write this. Wait. We still need other stuff. The cell still needs other stuff. It needs things to get through. So, let's put in some gates. Okay, so if this thing's like a fence going all the way around, we're going to put some gates in. All right, and we'll stop after we talk about the gates today. Now, physicist is all like, my science is better. Chemist is like, my science is better. What are you going to say?
Protein.
And then walk away like a... That's it. That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to have a phospholipid bilayer, like a big fence going around. Well, we still want gates to get in, okay? They don't want people getting into Six Flags for free. They put a fence around the whole thing. But they do have gates so they can selectively take your money, all right? So put this big bad boy in there. Okay? That's a what again? Phospholipid bilayer. And what does this thing, this gate that I just stuck in there called? Like a boss.
Protein.
Proteins. Yeah. That is a membrane protein. Okay. So parts of the cell membrane. Let's come back up here. Put a big number 1 next to the phospholipid. It is number 1 by quantity and by priority. There's a ton of those things and we have to have them. Okay. Number 2, membrane protein. Okay. There's like a gate that allows stuff in or out of the cell. Okay. Membrane protein is the gate that allows stuff in or out of the cell. The cool thing about proteins is they can choose. Like this thing may only let a certain type of amino acid in. Nothing else can get in through it except for that certain type of amino acid. Then you have other gates in there that let things like glucose in, and they only let glucose in. They let nothing else in. And so these gates are specific, okay? They're specific to what they allow into the cell. I should say or out. Into or out of the cell. So those are the two big, really important components of the cell membrane, okay? So we have this that's basically a giant fence going around. In fact, yeah, let's say that, fence. The fence that goes around that's really specific, doesn't let anything in or out unless it's either what? This guy, small and nonpolar. And this thing right here will let certain things through the gates, but they have to be very specific substances.
Specific to what they allow.
Into, and I put or out, I should say or out of the cell. They're real specific to what they're going to allow. Yes, go
What do
ahead.
they title this?
This right here, the whole thing is the cell membrane. It is a continuation of this because that's where we're at right now. Can you picture the cell membrane in your head? Where we're at? We're at the edge of the cell, like the border all the way around, that squishy, like boundary of the cell. All right?
I say,
All right.